I am a big fan of this Trijicon SRO. I've been running it in competition for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I've shot a couple of matches in the last year in pouring down rain, just absolute monsoons. And what I found is the SRO, if it gets water on the emitter or the glass covering the emitter, it makes it very, very, very difficult to shoot the remainder of the stage. I can still put shots on target 15, 20 yards, but it's going to take a lot longer, and it's kind of hard to tell if they're alphas or if there's deltas. So any optic that's open emitter, you're going to get water on the lenses, and it's usually not a huge deal, but if it gets on the emitter, it could be a lot more problematic. So I'm going to do a super scientific test today comparing it to the new Defender XL. Okay, I have my handy dandy rain reproduction device here. First test I'm going to do is I'm just going to get water on the front and back lenses without trying to get it down inside where the emitter's coming out, which would be down in here. And we're going to see how it does with just water on the lenses. So spraying some here. Make sure we get enough. There we go. And yeah, on the front, there we go. Okay, starting with the Trijicon SRO. All right, so I see water on the lens. However, my dot is super clear. I can see the target just fine. There's not really any blooming, nothing like that. We'll give it a couple shots. All right, so after water went everywhere, I do have a little bit of blooming. However, I can still identify where the center of my dot is. In fact, there was so much water in there, it came in and splashed my face. Okay, now for the Defender XL. All right, so same thing. I can see the dot. I'm going to turn it up just a tad. There's some water all over the lens. However, it's not affecting anything. Okay, I have zero blooming going on right now, so the dot is still clear as day. There's just as much water on that. I could feel it come back and hit me. So far, XL takes the win. All right, taking my rain device. This next test, we're going to try to get water down in here. That's where the emitter is, and see how it affects blooming on both of these guns. So we'll start with the Defender. Oh yeah, there we go. And now for the SRO. There we go. Okay. This is going to be fun. All right, once again, starting with the Trijicon SRO. Okay, I actually can see the dot, no problem right now. We'll see how this goes. All right, there we go. So it wasn't until that fourth shot where I now have, if I hold it at the right angle, I can't see the dot. So it's blooming pretty significantly to the point where I have like two separate dots that aren't even close to each other. Yeah, so if I hold it right at the angle, I can put the dot on the alpha. However, if I dip it all, now the dot disappears, and a dot on the left side of the screen, which is aiming about 6 to 8 inches to the left of that dot, is the only thing I can see. So that's what I was talking about, where it's really, really problematic. Makes it hard to see under stress where your aiming is. And at 15 yards, 6 to 8 inches off is pretty significant, especially if you're going to use this thing for a self-defense optic. Okay, now for the Defender XL. Okay, dot's clear. Dot is very clear there. Here we go. Okay, I can still see the dot perfectly. I have zero blooming. Water came up and sprayed me in the face. I know I put just as much on this one, and I have water all over the front of the lens, but I can still see that dot perfectly. There's zero blooming whatsoever. Okay, nothing. Still just one single dot. So absolutely takes the cake in this first test. I'm going to do that same thing again and see if I can replicate it and try to get this thing to bloom. Okay, trying to replicate that test. I took the cap off, and I'm just going to pour water in here. See if we can get it to replicate. Okay. The things we do for science. Thankfully, both these companies are awesome, and I'm sure they'll take care of me if I ruin the optic. All right, starting with the SRO. There's literally, starting with the SRO, there's literally a pool of water in here. You guys want to watch that? Okay, dot is fairly good. There's a tiny bit of blooming. We'll see how she does. All right, there we go. I got a lot of blooming. I've got a shotgun pattern on the SRO right now. Yeah, there's, okay, I can't even find the dot. The main dot's gone. Yep. Yeah, that's, see, this thing's, it's now useless. Okay, same test with the Defender XL. Again, there's a pool of water in here. You can see that come out. All right, dot's perfectly there, zero blooming. This is, I don't know how they do this. All right, here we go. There's zero blooming whatsoever. The dot is perfect. It's not very bright. I'm not going to admit, or I'll admit it's not very bright right now. However, I think there might be a setting where you lock it in, because I've seen this thing before. It does get extremely bright. So I might have that setting on. Brand new optic to me. I'm not super familiar with it, but there's nothing. I mean, it's just one single clear dot. So I can't seem to get this thing to bloom at all. All right, there you have it, folks. So at least in this particular test, trying to get the dot to bloom. So replicating a lot of rainfall happening. I'm literally pouring water down inside where this emitter is, pouring down the front, the back of the lens, all that kind of stuff. I could not get this Defender XL to bloom. So the entire time, one single dot, clear as day. I don't know how they did that, but that is absolutely phenomenal. So at least in this particular aspect, the Defender XL takes the cake. And honestly, that's been my only complaint with the SRO. I've used it. It's a great optic. I've even chipped one, and it still continues to function and hold zero. Drop, very, very, very reliable, even when dropped. And obviously, made in America, Trijicon's great stuff. However, I've lost a significant amount of points using that optic in matches because of that blooming effect. Not to mention, I do carry it on a couple of my defensive weapons. And after using it in competition and seeing that negative effect the rain has on it, I do have concerns about using it for defensive or personal carry use. So I'm going to be switching over to this, put a lot more practice into this, at least in competition, and see how it holds up. And if it's nice and reliable, then they're going to be going on my defensive and duty weapons as well. Anyway, thanks for paying attention, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll see you on the range.